Every story leaves a mark. Some are written in mountains. Others wait quietly beneath the open sky, listening longer than any living thing. This is Symbol Tales. Long ago, on the Great Plains of North America, there lived Iktomi. Iktomi was clever. At least he believed he was. In one story after another, he found ways to trick others, talk himself out of trouble, or convince himself that he was wiser than everyone around him. Sometimes his cleverness helped him. More often, it led him into difficulties of his own making. One cold morning, Iktomi was traveling across the prairie. The wind swept over the grasslands without mercy. It bent the tall grass and carried the chill of distant hills across the open country. Wrapped tightly in a fine buffalo hide blanket, Iktomi walked alone beneath the gray sky. After a time, he came upon a large rock. It rested by itself in the middle of the plain. The rock did not move. It did not speak. It simply sat where it had likely sat for generations, enduring wind and rain and winter snow. Iktomi stopped and looked at it. The wind howled around them. He tilted his head thoughtfully. "Poor rock," he said. "You must be terribly cold sitting here all alone." Whether he truly felt pity or merely enjoyed hearing himself sound generous, no one can say. But Iktomi removed his blanket and carefully draped it over the stone. "There," he announced proudly. "I give you this blanket." The rock said nothing. Of course it said nothing. Satisfied with his own kindness, Iktomi continued on his way. As the morning passed, the clouds began to break apart. The sun climbed higher. Its warmth spread across the prairie. Soon, the day no longer felt cold at all. Iktomi walked for a while. Then he slowed. Then he frowned. Then he looked back over his shoulder. His blanket had been a very fine blanket. A warm blanket. A beautiful blanket. The more he thought about it, the less pleased he became with his earlier generosity. "After all," he muttered, "what use does a rock have for a blanket?" The idea grew larger in his mind with every step. Finally, he turned around. He would simply take it back. Surely there was no harm in that. By midday he had returned to the rock. The blanket still rested where he had left it. Iktomi crossed his arms. "I have changed my mind," he announced. The rock remained silent. "I need this blanket more than you do." Still, the rock said nothing. Without another word, Iktomi snatched the blanket away. As he folded it over his shoulders, he laughed. "Imagine giving a blanket to a rock," he said. "What a foolish idea." Then he walked away. The prairie stretched endlessly before him. The sun shone overhead. Everything seemed perfectly ordinary. For a while. Then he heard a sound. Far behind him. a low, grinding noise. Iktomi stopped. The sound stopped. He listened. Only the wind moved through the grass. Shaking his head, he continued walking. A little later, the sound returned. This time it was louder. Grind, crunch, grind, crunch. The earth itself seemed to tremble. Iktomi turned, and his heart nearly stopped. The rock was moving, not rolling gently, not sliding, charging. The enormous stone thundered across the prairie, tearing through grass and earth as it came straight toward him. Iktomi cried out and ran. The ground shook beneath every impact. Behind him came the relentless sound. Grind, crunch, crunch, crunch. Faster and faster he ran, but the rock did not slow. It had listened when he gave the blanket, and it had listened when he took it back. Now it had decided to answer. Iktomi raced across the plains until he spotted a group of animals. "Help me!" he shouted. "A terrible thing is chasing me!" The animals looked behind him and saw the giant rock approaching. Some tried to stand in its way. Others shouted warnings. But nothing mattered. The rock rolled onward without hesitation. It crossed streams. It crushed bushes. It broke through every obstacle placed before it. Its purpose never changed. Iktomi was the one it wanted. The day wore on. The chase continued. The sun moved lower in the sky. Still, the rock followed. Iktomi's legs burned. His lungs ached. His blanket bounced against his shoulders with every desperate stride. At last, he understood. This was not happening because of the blanket alone. It was happening because of his promise. He had given a gift. Then he had taken it back. He had treated his own word as something that could be discarded whenever it became inconvenient. The rock had remembered. And now the prairie itself seemed determined to remind him. As evening approached, Iktomi ran harder than he had ever run before. The sound of the rock echoed behind him like distant thunder. Grind, crunch, grind, crunch. Whether he escaped by cleverness, luck, or the mercy of the spirits depends on which version of the story is told. Some say he found shelter. Others say the rock simply grew tired. A few insist the chase never truly ended and that somewhere beyond the horizon, Iktomi is still running. But all versions agree on the lesson. A promise is not made smaller because the listener cannot speak. A gift is not made less important because the receiver is a stone. The earth hears. The world remembers. And there are consequences that move far more slowly than we expect, yet arrive with far greater force than we imagine. That is why the old storytellers spoke carefully of the land around them. Not because rocks are alive in the way people are alive, but because respect given to the world is respect returned, and disrespect sooner or later comes rolling back. Thank you for listening to Iktomi and the Rock. If you enjoyed this tale from Lakota tradition, please like the video, subscribe to Simple Tales, and share it with others who love myths, legends, and timeless stories. Until our next journey into the world's timeless tales. Thank you for listening.